Well, hey there, everybody, and welcome back to an extra special edition of Owning Your Outdoors. Joining me, as always, Mr. Doug Schroeder with Lewis and Doug. We have kind of different scenery here today.
Yes, we do. We're moving things, our outdoors, indoors a little bit to talk about the holiday seasons and some of the things you can do to keep all the plants you have indoors and your tree happy.
Yeah, and we have a very lovely array here on the table in front of us. We're talking more these winter plants, and I'm not super familiar with them. You know, I just bought a house actually. So can you tell me a little bit about Christmas trees, which you should select for maybe a fresh cut tree?
Fresh cut trees, the first thing you take into consideration is the size of the room you're going to put it in. One of the biggest mistakes I see is people buying a tree that's too large for the room that they're going to put it in.
I've definitely done that before.
Yes, that creates a little problem. You're moving a lot of furniture at that point. Another thing to take into consideration is the health of the tree. Really examine the tree, make sure it's not drying, and make sure it's going to last for the season for you.
And you know, if that tree is kind of drying out, maybe you've had it in your house for a couple of days, is there any way you can kind of help that out? Maybe trimming the trunk?
Yes, trimming the trunk. Anything you buy in the parking lot, the sap has created a seal on the trunk. What you need to do is cut about a 1/4 inch off so the tree can drink again. That will be probably the biggest thing you can do to ensure the health of your tree.
Keep it longer lasting too
Yes,
than right
yes,
through the
and
holiday
let it drink
season.
that water.
Well, I guess next we would maybe want to select a tree stand. How would you kind of go about that?
The bigger the water capacity, the better. Rule of thumb is a 1/4 water per inch of the tree width of the trunk. So look, make sure that there's plenty of room for water and that the tree has plenty of nutrition to drink.
And you know, speaking of water, like how often would you maybe check the water level, maybe add some water?
Daily.
Daily,
If you
okay.
keep your house warm, maybe a couple times a day. But a tree will drink a lot of water, so it's important to check on that. The worst thing you can do is have a tree dry out.
Yeah, you know, we talk about watering trees over the summer, but I never really thought about that for our fresh Christmas trees. Good tip there. And how would you maybe go about, I don't know, fertilizing? What additives would you use?
No additives.
No additives?
That
Okay.
is kind of a myth. I know people buy the additive to put in the water or aspirin. My recommendation is trees drink water. Just make sure there's a good source of water and they should be
Plenty
happy.
of water and they don't need anything else.
Right.
Well, what should you consider for kind of the placement of that Christmas tree?
The placement of the tree, keep it away from heat. Another mistake I see a lot of people do is they put the tree near a heat vent or whatever, and all of a sudden they can't understand why the tree is drying out. Make
Right.
sure that if it's near a window, maybe look if you have southern exposure, maybe not a good place for it. But heat is another problem for a tree.
Yeah, something I wouldn't really think of. I know maybe some people would put that closer to a fireplace, make sure that cozy vibes, but make sure it's not too terribly close, right?
Not too terribly close, what we want to prevent the tree from drying out. So really pay attention to where you're placing it.
Most definitely. And I see we have quite the array of poinsettias, I've heard people say that.
Yes,
These guys.
yes. Poinsettias they are the flower of Christmas.
Yes, they are.
They are, a lot of younger people are not too much into them, but they still represent Christmas to a lot of people. The biggest thing with poinsettias is the watering. The biggest mistake I see is on the watering part of it.
Okay.
What I recommend is take a poinsettia out of its wrapper and then water it thoroughly. Place it in a container or in the sink. Water enough so water is running out the bottom.
Okay. So you get that full soaking effect.
Right.
Probably.
It's better to water a tree less often and make sure you thoroughly water it and let it dry out in
Okay.
between.
Okay, so we talked about the watering. What about the light for these guys?
Light, they do need light. If you're placing on the north, you can place poinsettia near the window, but it's better to do southern, eastern, or western exposure.
Okay, good.
North side, you don't get a lot of sun.
Right. Yeah, they definitely need that. And maybe what is a good temperature setting for these? You know, we kind of talk about the Christmas trees don't necessarily like the warm temperatures. What about these?
I would, the maximum temperature on a poinsettia, I would say, is about 72. Ideally, about 65 to 70 is an ideal temperature for a poinsettia to keep them happy.
Okay, happy and healthy, right?
Yes, right. We want to keep them as long as we can through the holiday season.
And, you know, speaking of happy and healthy, are these toxic maybe to our pets, our young children?
They are toxic, but there was a myth that they were actually poisonous and could kill you.
I've heard that before.
Right. They will make you sick.
Okay.
So I recommend keeping them away from pets, keeping them away from children. You know, little kids will put anything in their mouth, and they are toxic. They will make them sick, but nothing that's lethal.
Yeah, just make sure we're keeping our eyes, especially on those pets, those young children. Is there anything else you can kind of provide for care for these?
One last thing is insects. So we don't have a lot of problem in the wintertime, but sometimes soil, there will be an insect that comes out and starts nibbling on them.
Okay.
Just keep due diligence in watching your plants.
Yeah, exactly. Keeping a close eye, we like.
That's right, that's right.
Well, do you have any other kind of tips or tricks for these guys?
No tips, but it's fantastic spending the day with you here. I want to wish everybody happy holidays and Merry Christmas.
Yeah, most definitely. Thanks so much for joining us here today, Doug.